What did you do, Shadow? I looked towards the town, rage building as I started walking in the direction of Appleton. Revenge on my mind with no care for my own life. Images of Silver Snip flashed through my mind, as if each step I took reminded me of her. Her face, her smile, the way she kissed me in the dark of night, the way she told me that she loved me, how warm she was cuddled next to me as we drifted off to sleep. Her death was on my hooves. If I would have just told her not to follow me, she'd be a new Pegasus now or heading back to Cartwheel, setting up her new trade route. If it wasn't for me, she'd be... what? Happy? That was the real question. Would she be happy if she'd never met me? Or if I never went to Cartwheel in the first place? Not like it mattered. It was all in the past. I couldn't fix what happened. All I could do for Silver was avenge her death. Pride said he couldn't be killed, but every pony had a weakness, even that monster. I'll figure it out and strike him down, even if he kills me in the process. Shadow, wait! Windthrasher yelled as she came flying down towards me, Silver's destroyed body laying across her back. I turned my head away, not wanting to see the mangled corpse. Don't try to stop me. I'm gonna make Pride pay for what he did. I felt her hoof on my shoulder as she said, I know this is hard for you, but you can't just go charging off to face a member of the Sins. Leave me alone, I said, pushing the hoof off my shoulder and continuing to walk. Windthrasher flew in front of me, with Silver's body still over her shoulders. I tried hard not to look at it. Tears started to well up in my eyes. Shadow, you need to plan this out first. Do you even know how to fight Pride? Do you even know anything about him apart from how he fights? I know what kind of magic he uses, and that he can't be killed with a normal weapon. He seems like he's immortal, but that's not possible. It'll be hard to kill him, but every pony can die, I said, still doing my best not to look at Silver's body. Windthrasher used her wings to lift Silver Snip off her back, and laid her gently on the ground. She took the saddlebag with the tribal lion off her back and tossed it over to me. If you want to fight Pride, then you'll need to know what you're getting yourself into first. Maybe there's something in there that can help. I looked down at the beat-up bag and asked, How would you think that? Pride's not an idiot. He wouldn't just leave information like that lying around. If anything, he set up some kind of trap. Or he left in a hurry. And forgot it, another voice said from behind me. I quickly turned and fired a plasma rifle at the voice, only to see Greed, who was standing a few feet behind me. As always, he didn't even try to avoid the shot. He just let his perfect armor take the blow. Only this time, instead of rolling off of him like before, the green goo stuck and started to sizzle. He jumped back, brushing the goo off quickly. Hey now, there's no need for violence, Shadow. I'm not here to fight you. I don't fight mares. Think I told you that already? I thought that the shot left a black mark on his so-called perfect shield. It was also a little warped. I lifted the rifle again and fired, yelling, Fuck you, Greed! I'm not dealing with you or any of the Sins anymore! This time he dodged the shot. He took to the air, then dove at me, his hooves battling my rifle away. If Greed wanted to try and stop me from going after his boss, he had another thing coming. I used my magic to grab hold of the plasma rifle again. I entered Sats and targeted 2 shots at his chest, right where I'd hit him before. He screamed as both shots hit him, throwing him back. So, I guess your armor isn't as great as you thought it was, huh, Greed? I yelled, taking aim at his shaking body. He looked up at me, then lifted a hoof in the air. I mean it, Shadow. I didn't come to fight you, I'm trying to help. Fuck you! I shouted, and fired again, a tear shed from my eye. Only this time, Windthrasher bucked the weapon out of my magical grip. The shot just missed Greed. Come on, Shadow. If he says he wants to help us, then let's hear him out. No. He's just gonna lie to us, or try and use me for some other goal. You can't trust a Sin. Another tear shed from my eye. Greed got to his hooves. There was a large crack in his armor. A bit of blood was dripping from the center of it. He shook his head, then winced in pain, but grinned. You have a point, Shadow. You shouldn't just trust a sin. Most of us would do anything to get the upper hoof. The thing is, I wouldn't blame you for using that rifle to kill me. You could very well do so, too. That rifle was designed to stop a pony just like me. If I wanted, I could fly away and avoid that. But I won't. I want to help you, Shadow. At least listen to what I have to say. Keeping the rifle raised, I said, "Give me one good reason." "Because I can tell you what you need to know about killing Pride." I lowered the barrel of the rifle just a little. "Why would you want Pride dead? Furthermore, how would you know how to kill him?" "I've been looking into how to kill Pride for years, ever since he recruited me. I think that most of the sins want him dead, apart from envy or gluttony. I know for a fact that wrath wants him dead. So does sloth. I'm not sure about lust, but I do my best to stay away from that whore," he said. "How does killing Pride help you? I've gotten to know you a little over the past few days, and you don't do anything without a reason." "It's simple. I want out." That was a shock. "Why do you want out of being the sins? I thought being a sin was something that you liked." "True. Being a member does have its perks. Like not being banned from the clouds like a normal Dashite, being paid well, and, well, the mares. There have been some beautiful mares. The problem is, being a member of the 7 Sins of Equinity has its downsides. I'm always on guard to make sure no pony tries to kill me. I can't just do whatever I want whenever I want. I always have to check with a higher-up to make sure I can do anything. You see, I have power, money, and mares. But I'm nothing but a puppet on a string to the Enclave. Hell, I'll go as far to say that I'm a slave of the Enclave. And I like to have my freedom. No strings attached. But I don't have the ability to stop something truly horrible from happening." I saw a sorrowful look in his eyes as he spoke. That expression told me something was bothering him. So I lowered the rifle the rest of the way. Did my best to hide the rage I felt towards his team. "What do you mean you couldn't stop something horrible from happening?" He looked over the body of Silver. He looked so sad when his gaze fell on her mangled corpse. "She was a nice mare. Even captured. I felt horrible for taking her so Envy could take her place. And that's where I went when I flew past you when the fight first started. I had my orders to grab Silver Snip while Pride and Cloak distracted you." "You mean you were the one who took her captive? Did you have a hoof in killing her too?" I shouted, raising the rifle again. "Might as well have. I gave her over to one of the Enclave soldiers before returning to the fight. At first, I was told that we were just taking her to force you to come to us. I had no idea what Pride really planned on doing," he said, his voice getting tight, almost like he was trying not to lose control of his own temper. "When the fight was over, I just came back to Halo 1. I was told to guard her, so I did, and I ended up talking with her a lot. At first, I thought she was just a boring dirt pony like most of you surfacers. But then when I heard her talk about you, I saw a different side of her. Did you know that she was more concerned about you than she was with herself?" That sounded just like Silver. She was the kind of mare who worried about the ones she cared for over her own safety. My rifle lowered once again. That doesn't surprise me. It wasn't in her nature to worry about herself when a loved one was in danger. "Sounds just like another pony I know." Wind Thrasher looked over at me. "No, I'm not like that." "I beg to differ. Look at what you were willing to do when you heard Silver was in danger. You were going to give in to their demands just to save her. You did the same thing when you went after Dr. Cell back in my stable." I just shook my head. I'm not a smart pony. I just didn't want to make my friends suffer for the stupidity of what I did. Even with Stable 9, I had to kill Dr. Cell so he wouldn't get free and bring his monsters into the wasteland. I was just fixing my own mistakes. She sighed.
"If you say so, Shadow. But I see it differently."
"As I was saying," Greed said, interrupting, "the more I talked with Silver, the worse I felt about taking her captive. It got worse when Pride came up to question her. He hurt her a lot to get the information he wanted from her. No matter how much he hurt her, she never told him anything. He said he was going to kill her after the last beating. He left her there to think about that. When he left, she asked me if I'd do something for her. What did she want you to do? I asked. At first, I thought she was going to ask me to free her, but she didn't. Silver asked me to get her a recorder and to leave her alone for a few minutes to leave you a message. I offered to help her get away, but she told me no. She said she had to stay. It was the only way you'd be safe. I couldn't deny a strong point like that, her last request. So I did what she asked and gave her a recorder. When she finished, she gave the recording to me, and told me that all she wanted me to do was make sure that you got it. I tried to talk her into leaving with me. I even opened the door and said I'd fly her right to you. She refused to leave, no matter how much I begged her to. Finally, Pride came back, and I watched as his shadows tore through her. I just stood there and watched. I didn't do anything. He cuffed his hoof over his eye. It took about 30 minutes before she finally released her last breath. The whole time, she just kept her eyes on me. The last thing she said before she was gone was, "Please don't let me down." After that, I stopped caring about myself. For the first time in my life, all I wanted to do was make sure I did what she asked me to. I felt tears welling up again as I spoke, but I held them back. When he finished speaking, I asked, "Do you have it?" He nodded. "I do, and I'll give it to you. But first, I want you to make a promise." "What?" "Promise that no matter what happens, you'll kill that monster and put an end to the rest of the sins for good. If you do that, then I'll give you the recording and my help. If not, well, I guess I'll just leave. I still gave you the recording, but I won't help you anymore. If you don't do this for me, I won't be able to defy the Enclave of Pride." Windthrasher moved a little closer to the larger Pegasus.
You're scared of him, aren't you?
He laughed a little. Scared doesn't even begin how I feel about Pride. Or envy, for that matter. They're the only two ponies I'm scared of. Well, Cloak too, but she never threatened to kill me. As you can tell from that rifle of yours, my shield can't protect me from a few things. One is powerful magic, like what Cloak can use. Another is the shadow magic Pride uses, and Envy is a whole different class himself. If Pride lives and he finds out I helped you, he'll come after me, and kill me. Envy might join him, if he's in the right mood. But I can't deal with him. Pride is the one I'm most worried about. You'll have to find a way to end him for good. And how do you propose I do that? He pointed at the saddlebags. Pride did forget those when he left. He ordered me to get the bags back before I left. He said he had to get to Appleton before the rest of the team did. Inside those are all the spell books he used to make himself into what he is now. I'm not sure why he keeps them in his saddlebags, but normally he doesn't let them out of his sight. He doesn't worry about me figuring out what his true weakness is from those, though. So he sent me to get it. The stupid thing is, he forgets who I am. He smiled as wide as he could. I'm greed. The Avaricious. I want everything for myself. That includes the knowledge of how to kill a pony like him, even if I can't do the deed myself. I looked at the saddlebags with my magic and opened them. As he said, there were a couple of black spellbooks inside. They looked old. Really old. As old as the goddesses themselves. I took them out and looked over them quickly. One I couldn't read at all, but the second one had a simple title on it. Sombra's Journal. I looked back at Greed and asked, "Who's Sombra?"
He used to be king of the Crystal Empire. There's a few old stories about him, from what I've read.
Windthrasher said.
From what I read, he used a kind of dark crystal magic to take over the Empire a long time ago.
Greed just shrugged. I don't know much about him, really. I'm not from Nimbus, so they wouldn't anyway. All I know is that he made some kind of powerful magic, and that's what Pride uses, or some kind of variation of it. I looked at the books again. What's this other one? I don't know this language. Wind Thrasher moved closer and looked at the glyphs.
They look like ancient zebra.
Can you read it? I asked.
No, not many pony can. We need to find a zebra that knows the old tongue, or a pony who studies it,
she replied. Then how can this help me learn about Pride's weakness? Greed shrugged. I know he says something about his power being in these old books. Honestly, when he finds out they're missing, he'll come after you just to get them back. You think he was angry with you when you killed Gluttony? Whew, Shadow. You have no idea. What do you think he'll need to know is in that smaller, third book? What third book? I asked, then looked back in the saddlebags. I saw the book about the size of my hoof on the bottom. It wasn't anything special, just a leather-bound notebook. When I took it out and opened it, I saw that Pride had taken some notes, in a tight scribble. They were notes about the older zebra tome, more about Somber's journal. I started flipping through the pages until I saw a page that mentioned black magic. The first entry was dated 19 years ago. I've been trying my new experimentations out. It's exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. All my life magic has always made sense to me. Every spell I tried to use was easy as breathing. It was so annoying. Nothing was challenging. Not until I started reading this journal I found in the Forgotten Library. The spells in it are dark, yet so powerful. I've been trying the spells out, but I can't seem to get a grip on the crystal magic at all. Maybe it's because I'm not a true crystal pony like most of the ponies who used to live there were. In my studies, I found that King Sombra was obsessed with dark magic of all kinds. He even went to the old zebra lands to learn dark arts from the tribe called the Star Cattery. He used what magic he knew and mixed it with the magic he learned from the zebras. With that, he was able to make new kinds of dark magic called shadow magic. He then took that and mixed it again with his natural ability to control the crystals of the Empire. It made him powerful, and the force to be reckoned with, but it was also his downfall. From his notes, he wasn't willing to go far enough for the shadow magic to make himself powerful enough to win the war he started. I can't use crystal magic myself, but working backwards from Somber's notes, I was able to recreate the shadow magic he created. At first, I thought it'd be easy to use because of my special talents with magic, but I was wrong. I've been doing experiments, making sure to keep any pony away while I did. Now I think I've got a good handle on it. Finally, a magic I have to work at to learn. I have been waiting for something like this for a long time. The next entry was 17 years ago. I thought I had this magic controlled, but I was wrong. No matter how hard I try and keep it, it keeps slipping away from me. It's even stronger than I thought at first, and it takes everything I have just to keep it contained. I'm scared that I may have to do something drastic to get it under control. I know what I have to do, but I'm not sure that I can. Not after what happened today. Guards will be coming for me any time now. That's if my sister doesn't kill me first. I've never seen her so mad before. She's always told me magic was always coming with a price. I always thought she was just saying that because she wasn't as good with spells as I am. But she was right. I'll have to pay the price for what I did today. And again, if I want to control this power. I'm so close to figuring out the one thing that everyone else wants to find. Black magic can lead me to true immortality. I was so close. Now I'm afraid the guards will take me away. I'll be executed for what I did. Unless I do the spell. I'll have to pay a toll for the magic to work. But it may be worth it. I'll get true immortality. Something pony kind has always dreamed of. If I do this, I'll also get full control of the shadows and this powerful magic. The last entry that mattered was dated only a couple weeks later in the same year. I've done it! At first, when I performed the spell, I wasn't sure that it worked. I knew something had happened, because I felt my body melt away. It was the most painful thing I'd ever experienced in my life. But now I know that it worked. The High Council wanted to execute me for my crime. Luckily for me, they tried everything they could think of. But everything they did just turned my body into a shadow. It was amazing. I didn't even feel pain when they shot me, or cut me, or even when they tried to incinerate me. Nothing worked. Finally, they thought of something. They offered me a chance to atone for what I've done, seeing as they can't harm me. They saw opportunity in me. After talking with the council, we came to an agreement. They told me about a group that they used to have in the Enclave. It was disbanded a couple years ago, codenamed the Sins of Equinity. Basically, I was exile with a small twist. You give up your rights as a citizen of the Grand Pegasus Enclave, and your name. You would then be sent to take care of jobs that they didn't want the rest of the ponies to know about. They named me after the leader, and stripped me of my name. I am no longer Auriculus. I am Pride the Arrogant, named for my sin. Now I can help my sister with her own project and still widen my range of abilities. I'm learning so much, and I don't think I've even scratched the surface of what I can do with this new gift. There's only one downside I've found so far. Bright light hurts me immensely. If I ease my way into a lighted area, I can endure it. But if it's sudden and harsh enough, my body seems to vanish, until I'm only nothing but a small bit of shadow. It still doesn't kill me, but it's very hard for me to pull myself back together. I fear that if something was harsh enough, either with light or fire, my new body wouldn't be able to handle it. It's a good thing nobody has ever created a weapon powerful enough that could kill me. But I'll still keep this from the Council. I don't want to give them any ideas to find a reason to kill me. One day I'll build this team up and make them so powerful we can overthrow the Enclave itself and show those damned Pegasi who they should really fear. I finished reading the notes, awestruck. So, Pride was the first pony of the Sins, or at least the first pony in the new Sins. He had a goal in his mind back then to take over one day. Maybe that's why he was so angry when I killed Gluttony. The rest of what he wrote made sense too. From what I read, it looked like he performed some kind of spell that either changed his body into shadows or replaced it. Either way, his body wasn't normal, that I knew. But from what I've read, he was just a living shadow. He did it to become immortal to escape the death he was sentenced to, and control over his powers. He was wrong, though, because no pony was truly immortal. He feared harsh light, or a weapon that used light or fire, because he thought it was powerful enough, it would kill him. This doesn't sound good at all from what I'm reading. There isn't anything I can kill him with, not unless we could come up with a way to make a quick flash of light that was bright enough as the sun itself. Even then, he wasn't sure if that would work. But he does fear it, I said, looking at Windthrasher and Greed. I've never heard of anything like that, Greed said, scraping at the dirt with his hoof. I'll have to look into it, though. I'm sure I can find something.
What does this mean for killing Pride, then?
Windthrasher asked. I'm not sure. Sure, there has to be a way to kill him. Maybe if I keep using flash grenades on him, it might kill him. I'd have to trap him in a place where he couldn't just get away easily. It could be done, if I plan this out right.
I think you can do it. Pride is called Pride for a reason. If you stroke his ego enough and make it seem like you're helpless, he'll let his guard down,
Reed said. I like the idea. I even have a few flash grenades that Envy helped me get back at Crimson Canyon. All I have to do is get Pride alone in a room and spring a trap. Might be tight. I think I could do it. I looked back at Silver's body. I'd have to do it. For her. If I kept my mind on that, no pony could stop me. I walked over to Silver's body and sat down next to it, doing my best to hold back my sorrow from seeing her like this. After a long moment passed, I said, "We should bury her." Windthrasher came over to me and asked,
That's a good idea, Shadow. Maybe it'll help you deal with this.
No, but it's the right thing to do. I'm not going to let her rot in the wasteland and get eaten by mutated birds like most ponies would, I said, looking in the distance, trying to find a place that looked like it would be nice. Then I spotted something, a large rock in the middle of a field. The rock sparkled in the dim light. Let's bury her right there. They both looked at the rock, and Wind Thresher said, I think it's perfect. Reed smiled. A perfect resting spot for a beautiful mare. Then he frowned. I wish I could help you with the shadow, but I've spent too much time here already. Looking back at him, I asked, Are you leaving? I have to, but don't worry. From now on, you can count on my help when you need it. I'll learn what I can about what's going on with the Enclave, and find out why they want you so bad, he said, then reached into his side of his pocket on his bardic and pulled out a recording. Take this. She wanted you to hear this when you found her. Listen to it any time. All she wanted was to make sure that you got it. I took it and slipped into my pip-buck. I'll listen to it soon. But what about you? Are you going to be okay? He opened his wings and winced a little, his chest still bleeding slightly. I'll be fine. I'll find our doctor when we get to Appleton. Before he could fly away, I asked, Greed, before you go, can you tell me your real name? He stopped, then smiled. Another time, Shadow. I'll see you in Appleton. Then he flew off without saying another word, slowly flying towards the distant town. Wind Thrasher came up next to me as she watched him fly away. He's a strange one, isn't he? He is, but he means well. One day, I'm gonna have to ask him how he became a sin. Assuming he lives that long. If the Enclave or Pride find out what he just did today, they'll kill him. Maybe. But he's too tricky to just let them kill him. I have faith that we'll see him again, I said, and then turned back towards the rock. Now, how are we going to dig a grave? We'll just use our hooves. Like an earth pony would back in the old days, she said, smiling at me. Come on, I'll help you. We worked with the hard soil. I decided to play the recording that Silver left for me. I let it play out as loud as I could as we worked, trying to hold back tears while she spoke. It started out simple. Silver's voice echoed out of my pip-buck. Weakly at first, then as she went on, she seemed to find strength, not letting any fear or sorrow come out of the words she had for me. Hello, Shadow. I'm glad Greed gave this to you like I asked him to. I think that you can trust him. He seemed truly horrified at what Pride was doing to me. It hurts. Everything hurts so bad right now. I'm doing everything I can to not tell them anything. I'm sure you're thinking right now that I'm an idiot for holding back and letting them do this. The truth is, no matter what I tell them, I'm going to die. I know for a fact, and there's nothing that I can do to change that. And I'm okay with it. It's not like I want to die, but I will die for you. I just wish I could see you one last time before the end. It'd be nice to hold you close to me so I could vent some frustrations. Not at you, but at myself, for being so weak. I should have stayed by your side when the fight broke out. But I had to prove that I was just as strong as Aura or Stardust. I knew they both saw me, just as a tag-along to warm your bed at night. But that wasn't true. It never would be. I figured I could prove myself to you, and you'd see that I was just as strong as all of you. I'm sorry. I let myself get captured. I'm really sorry, Shadow. That isn't what I wanted to say, though. We kept digging the hole next to Wind Thresher, neither of us looking at each other. We were doing our best to keep our minds on the work, to lose ourselves in the task of shoveling soil out of the never-ending hole. Really, we didn't want to show the tears that were mixed in with the sweat that was flowing down our faces. As we worked, Silver's words kept playing in the background, her voice steady as she went on. Shadow, you're an amazing mare, and I think that it's time that you saw that. I've been watching you for the past couple of days, and I've noticed how always second-guess yourself. You need to stop doing that and start trusting yourself more. You're so good and kind. You're strong and beautiful. Be your own mare, and don't let any pony tell you what you're supposed to do, or be. This mission to find your mother is noble, and I understand why you think you need to go along with it. You want answers, and you deserve to get them. I wish I could tell you this sooner, but I was afraid you'd be angry with me for holding back. I didn't want you to leave to go off to find her, but I guess it doesn't matter now. I remember when your mother first came to town with you when you were little. That wasn't the last time I saw her. Grimoire came to Cartwheel 8 years ago. She didn't stay long, but she did talk to Box Tape and my mother. I saw her leaving something with my mom, but I never found out what it was. Mom put it in her safe, and I never found a key for before she died. 8 months ago, Grimoire came back to Cartwheel. She was just passing through, making her way towards the MASEBS tower, just north of town. But I never forget a pony. I tried to talk to her and ask her about you. I wanted to know why I never heard back from you after we met so many years ago. She looked at me like I was an insect, and told me that her daughter was dead. She told me that you died a long time ago. I don't know why she said that to me. Maybe she was just protecting you, or I don't know. But she was different. She was angry and cruel. I didn't see her after that. But whatever she had planned for you, I don't think she meant it to be good, Shadow. You told me that your mom always took you away, the memories of your past. Maybe there was a reason for that, and not the one she told you. You only know her as the mom you knew in Stable 28. What if that isn't what she was really like? She could be using you for something bad. I don't know what it was, but she gave me a bad feeling when I met her that last time. So please, don't go following her. Learn what you can, but don't go into her plan blindly. You need to find out who you were before the stable, when you do find her. At least that way you'll know the truth about who she really is. I won't be there to help you down the road that you've set for yourself. Just remember that even though I won't be around, you still have friends. They love you. I can see that. Star, let's start listening to them more. And be there for them, no matter what. Because every one of them will be there for you. Stardust is loyal to a T. You can count on him to protect you and always be there for you. Wingnut may have a dirty mind now and then, but he's a colt. He'll grow out of it. Maybe. I'm not making any promises about him. He's still a strong kid and smarter than most ponies I've met that are twice his age. Aura? What can I say about her? Well, I see something in her that I don't think you have. Out of all your friends, she's the one I'm most jealous of. She's so strong and brave. She's always willing to speak her mind no matter who's around. She's also broken inside. She needs you more than you know. I want you to be there for her. Don't let her go, no matter what. Also, talk to her about her past. Don't force it out of her, just sit back and listen. She'll open up to you if you listen. That's all I want from you, Shadow. Be there for your friends, and don't ever give up on them. I remember that, even if I'm gone, I'll still be watching over you. I don't know if the goddesses are real or just a story that we cooked up to make us mortals feel better about our lives. But I choose to have faith that when I pass on to the afterlife, they'll be there, and from the paradise where I'll reside, I'll watch over you, until the day we are reunited again. The last thing I want to say is simple. Don't be afraid to love again. I know there's some pony out there for you, one who will be able to stay by your side for many years. I wish it was me, but I think my role in life was to help you find yourself. I hope I was able to do that. I love you, Shadow Star. I always have, and I always will. Thank you for making my last days perfect. I wouldn't trade it for the world, even if it meant I could live on for 50 years. I still wouldn't give up the time we had together, short as it was. Now go out there. Be strong. Be safe. And show every pony that you're not a pony to cross. I have faith in you. Goodbye. The audio recording cut out, her last 2 words echoing inside my head. Tears welled up in my eyes again as I stopped digging. I looked down at my dirty hooves, watching his tears fall on them. She met Mom 8 months ago, but she never told me, because she didn't want me to go on about this foolish journey with her to find her. Not because she was worried about me finding out the truth, but because she didn't trust the pony Mom had become. She wanted to protect me from whatever pain Mom set into motion 8 years ago when she left me alone in Stable 28. It also meant Lonely Hearts was right about her. She wasn't the same pony that I knew from when I was younger. Or maybe I didn't know her like I thought I did. Was she even my real mother? Or was I just a filly she used to get some greater goal? Where did I come from? And why wouldn't Mom ever talk about it when we were in the stable? The more I looked into her, the more questions I had. What could I do about everything that was happening right now? All this crap that revolved around either Mom or the stupid pit buck she'd left for me? If I'd left the stable without it, no pony would be after me, or even care who I was. I'd just be another mare in the wasteland. To be honest, I'd probably be dead already, without the help of Sats, all the time. At the time, I never found the pit buck. I wouldn't have become friends with Stardust. He never would have been there to save me from the raiders, but he wouldn't have needed a reason to travel with me. I would have stayed in Cartwheel. Same went for Aura. If the Overmare hadn't lied to the Red Talons about me, then she wouldn't have ever stolen the orders to hunt me down and come searching for me. Windthrasher would still be stuck in Stable 9, having to do whatever she was told by Dr. Cell. Wingnut and Honeysuckle would have been killed with those Cazadors if I wasn't heading to New Pegasus to find Lonely Hearts. No matter the reason why Mom left the Mark II with me, it wasn't the root of my problems. No. Mom was. The pit buck was the reason I made so many friends, and met some interesting and fun ponies along the way. Shit, if I never found it, I'd be still miserable living in Stable 28, with a sad, lonely life ahead of me. Living in the wasteland was hard, but it was so much better than the shitty life I had back in Stable 28. I was happy now. I laughed every day, no matter what was happening to me. My friends always tried their best to make me smile. I rarely smiled in Stable 28. It was only when Milkshake or Balefire could get away and spend their day with me. As we grew older, that happened less and less. First with Balefire training to get into security, and Milkshake taking on small duties as she got ready for one of the jobs she'd be doing when she'd come of age. I was always with Auntie, watching her go through the day to make sure the stable was running properly. But I never paid it any mind. I only cared about myself back then. I didn't like to think like that anymore. Now I had something to look forward in life to. And even with the loss of the mare I cared for more than anything, I still had a goal. She was right. I needed to find out who I was before I started looking for Mom again, or at the very least, before I continued down the path she'd set for me. I'm Shadowstar. I'm not good at listening, Auntie would say. She was right, too. If Mom wanted me to go one direction, then I would cheat, take a side path, one of my choosing. I popped the recording out of my Mark II, placed it into my saddlebags, then got out the hole Windthrasher and I dug. She watched me quietly as I lifted Silver gently with my magic, then lowered her into the grave. I reached down and closed her lifeless eyes. I arranged her forehooves so they were crossed over her chest. And then I sat back and looked down at her face, ignoring the blood and bruises left over from her imprisonment. She was still beautiful, and she looked at peace now. Nothing could change what happened. She knew that. That was why she left me that message. She wanted me to know that she didn't blame me for what happened. She wanted me to move on with my life, to find my friends and find out who I really was. That's what I'll do, after I take care of Pride. No matter what, he still has to be dealt with. I smiled as I looked up at the cloudy sky and started to speak. Silver Snip was a great pony. She wasn't strong or as brave as other ponies I knew. Braver than me, no doubt. Maybe even stronger. But she had a big heart. She befriended a scared, sickly little filly because she wanted to see her smile. She loved a mare who was broken inside and wanted to do everything she could to help her heal. She risked her life in the end, gave her life, to protect the mare she loved with all her heart. Goddesses, if you're really up there, please watch over this mare's soul and welcome her into your loving hooves. help her find peace in the afterlife. It was all I could say. So using my magic, I moved as much dirt as I could back into the hole, covering her body forever. It took a few times of moving the piles of dirt, but soon I was finished. When I was finished, Wind Thrasher moved over to the rock, and using another jagged rock she found from the ground, she started to scratch deep lines into the gray stone. It took a few minutes, but she was finally done. I felt like fresh tears were falling as I saw what she'd done. In the stone, she'd wrote, "Here lies Silver Snip, friend, lover, and one-of-a-kind pony. She gave her life for the mare she loved more than anything. Let her spirit find peace in the loving embrace of Celestia and Luna." I looked over at Wind Thrasher, said, "Thank you for that." She nodded, her own eyes filled with tears.
I didn't know her, but after listening to what she had to say, I wish I had. It was the least I could do for you, Shadow. Also, since I was never able to bury my mother, this helps me find peace in a small sense. The words may be for Silver Snip, but for me they're also for my mom, who also gave her life to protect the rest of the stable, and in hopes that one day I'd be free.
I moved closer and hugged the bat pony for a long time, both of us letting our sorrow out. It didn't last long, but in that short time I felt like everything bad that had happened was being washed away with tears. It was time for a new pony to show herself. It was time to become the courier mare the wasteland called for. If DJ Pony and Mr. New Pegasus wanted the heroes of the West, then I'd give them one. I'd start out by showing the Enclave that you don't mess with a wasteland pony, or the mare I loved. It was time to take on Pride, and get Stardust back. That was the first time in my life I felt like I was part of the wasteland. I was no longer some stable 28 mare. I was the courier mare of the wasteland. Hero of the West. At least, that's what I told myself at the time. I pulled away from Wind Thrasher, dried my eyes, and said, "I'm still going to head to Appleton, and try my best to kill Pride. I'll understand if you don't want to go with me. You already did more than I could have asked for by helping me get Silver back." She laughed, drying her eyes.
I don't have anywhere to go. I'll stick by you as long as you'll let me.
She held out a hoof.
I want to be your friend, and friends stick together.
I took her hoof and shook it. "I'll be happy to call you my friend, Wind Thrasher. And thank you." My smile fell as I thought about Aura and Wingnut. I'm sure they were back in Crimson Canyon by now, and they'd be furious with me. I'd have to do whatever I could to make it up to them. I just hope that I'll be able to earn back the trust of my other friends. After what I did, I'm sure that won't be easy.
I don't know. You'd be surprised how far friends will go for each other. Don't give up hope too quickly on Aura and Wingnut.
You're right. Let's go take care of Pride. Then I can find them, and let them take out whatever anger they have towards me. Are you ready to do this?
Do you have a plan?
She asked. Maybe. Mind you, it's probably going to get one or both of us killed. But it's better than nothing.
Then let's get going. We aren't going to be able to do much while sitting around here crying like fools.
I laughed, then nodded. We both headed off towards Appleton. I looked back once towards the large rock that now served as a marker and tombstone for Silver Snip. I made sure to brand that rock and the writing onto it into my mind forever. I vowed that I wouldn't let another pony I loved die like she did. I would die first before I'd let them give their lives for me, just like Silver had. I whispered one last prayer to the goddesses. Then I turned away. Appleton was nothing like any town I'd seen so far in the wasteland. Cartwheel was a town with rickety walls around it to help protect the town from raiders and whoever else was trying to take the city. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. New Pegasus and Freedom were both towns that revolved around gambling, sex, trade, business, and fear. Frosty Summit was a safe haven for anyone who needed it. Crimson Canyon was a mercenary settlement for griffins. Appleton was like walking into a pre-war town that hadn't changed since the bombs fell. Apart from the fact that instead of traders and ponies, just trying to get by in the world, it was like walking into a den of thieves. Every pony here had a hard edge to them, each one looking like they'd be more likely to stab you before they'd shake your hoof in greeting. At the same time, even with their hard looks, they had a sense of welcoming to them. They looked scary, but none of the ponies that I could see turned away anyone who was walking in or out of the town. They also smiled at one another, welcoming some of the traders who were leading their Brahmin in through the gate. But it wasn't the look of the other ponies that kept Wind Thresher or myself outside looking in. It was the Pegasi flying over the town. All of them in power armor with magical energy rifle battle saddles. There was also something I'd never seen before just outside the outskirts of the town. There were 3 sky carriages, armored, with Pegasi hooked up to them. I guess they were sky carriages, but I couldn't be sure. I remember the trader outside of Little Hoof saying the Enclave took over Appleton, but I didn't think it was this bad. That was when I noticed 2 Enclave guards just inside the gate that led to town. Each one of them was checking everyone who walked in, keeping their eyes out for something. I wasn't sure what, but I'm sure it would be a pony who would raise suspicion. I looked over at Wind Thrasher and asked, "How are we going to get past them?"
Maybe we could sneak in?
She said, watching the ponies who were heading slowly in and out of Appleton.
I'm sure one of those ponies would have an outfit we could use too.
Do you really think something like that would even work? I asked. She shrugged.
It's the only thing I can think of.
As I sat there trying to think of a way to sneak past the ponies guarding the gate, something went flying over us, speeding towards the gate. There was a sound of crunching and a body falling to the ground. I looked over the gate and saw one of the guards was dead, a long spear sticking out of its eye sockets. The other guard was backing away from the body, his battle saddle charging. What the fuck was that? I asked. But I got my moment later as ponies on the road started screaming and running away. I watched as an equine form materialized a few feet away. It was wearing a red cloak that seemed to shimmer. It pulled back its hood, revealing a zebra stallion. He hefted another spear in his hoof and threw it at another guard, yelling, "For the Khazar!" The spear buried itself in the ground inches away from the guard. He jumped back, then fired at the lone zebra, yelling, "Romans!" The zebra easily sidestepped the shot and threw his cloak back, showing off his own battle saddle. The zebra fired, taking the guard down like it was nothing. More Pegasi started flying down towards the zebra, firing at him. He just smiled and yelled, "You think your puny garrison is a match for the fury of the Romans?" As the trade ponies started to run in all directions, some of them pulled away, throwing off their cloaks, revealing more striped faces. They pulled out rifles and battle saddles, all of them firing up at the armored-covered Pegasi. The area around the first zebra shimmered, and another 10 zebras materialized. Before I knew it, an all-out battle erupted in front of her eyes. I felt Wind Thrasher pull me on.
Shadow, now's a good time for us to get in the town.
"Is there going to be a town after this?" I asked, my eyes glued on the fight. I watched as the Pegasus flew down at one of the advancing zebras. He dodged a shot, the stinger on his tail coming around and jamming into the zebra's neck, the tip protruding at the other side. Before the Pegasus could fly away, another zebra ran up and jammed a spear through the soldier's visor. His body went rigid for a moment, then he fell as the zebra pulled its spear out.
It's better than staying here and dodging stray beams. Now let's go,
she said, pulling on my foreleg. I turned my head away from the carnage unfolding before me and ran towards the gate. We just made it through when something exploded behind us. I looked back and saw chunks of pony flying through the air, a red mist where I assumed the pony had been a second before. Turning away again, I followed Wind Thrasher as she ducked into an alley. "Well, I guess that worked," I said, shaking a little from the adrenaline pumping through my veins. What the hell was all that about?
I'm not sure. Let's just hope they don't make it into town.
What? Those zebras?
Yes. From what the NLR told me, the zebras are the worst thing for ponies of any kind to run into. The stories about what they do are terrifying,
she said with a shiver.
Let's move further into town. We can use this opportunity to search for Pride.
I think we won't have to look far, I said, ducking down further in the alley. Walking by closely, followed by Sloth and Lust, was Pride. It was right there. He didn't even know I was here. I started walking towards him, pulling the plasma rifle from its holster. Wind Thrasher grabbed me and pulled me behind a pile of trash, whispering, Now, Shadow. How are the other two ponies with him? You need to get him alone first." I felt the hot rage flowing through me as I looked at his smug golden face. The image of Silver's corpse still fresh in my mind. I wanted to destroy him. I wanted him to suffer like he made her suffer. It took all my willpower not to pull away and make an insane dash towards the bastard. I closed my eyes and clenched my teeth.
"Calm down,"
Wind Thrasher said. She wrapped her forelegs around me and pulled me into an embrace. Slowly, my shaking slowed and the rage left me. Finally, I said, "I'm good now. Thanks." She just smiled and let the embrace linger for another moment before she let me go, saying,
"I'm your friend, Shadow. I'm here to make sure you don't do something stupid."
As she talked, Pride's voice echoed from just around the corner of the alley. "What's going on out there?" Sloth answered in his unexcited, monotone voice. "I heard one of the soldiers say something about zebras attacking or something."
"Why would they attack this shithole?"
Lust spoke next. Pride sighed. "They must know that this town is the perfect place to set up camp if they want to take over Halo 1, like we did. They probably scouted our Pegasi leaving slowly and thought this would be the perfect time to try and attack Appleton." Lust laughed.
"More like the worst time if you asked me. What should we do at the Pride?"
"It's not like we need this town anymore. But our own ponies are still here, so I guess we should put a stop to this. It'll also help those stripes get put in their place," Pride replied. I heard Sloth yawn. "Are you gonna make us go fight them, Pride? 'Cause I really don't feel like doing that. It's so much work." "No, I'll take care of this. I could do with an excuse to let out some anger," Pride said, and he laughed. "It'll also be a good show to the ponies around here as why you don't mess with the 7 sins of equinity."
"What do you want us to do then? Sit on our hooves and watch?"
Lust asked. "I want you two to find out what's taking Greed so long. He should have been back by now." "What about Cloak?" Sloth asked. "She's already taken off with the last raptor that we sent out. I'll deal with this. Finish up here, then go find Greed. What you do find out where he is, I want all 3 of you to fly back to Stardust right away." "Can do, boss," Sloth said. A moment later, I saw both Pegasi fly off away from the battle. I could still hear going on just outside the walls. I waited a moment, then Wind Thrasher and I crept towards the entrance of the alley. Peeking around it, I just caught sight of Pride walking outside the gate. We followed, wondering what he was going to do to stop the zebra violence. When we got to the gate, we watched Pride walk out towards the fight. He raised his voice, his horn glowing and yelling in a magically projected voice. "All Enclave soldiers, fall back towards town. Leave them to me." They all obeyed. The 30 or so Pegasus that could still move flew back over the walls and into town. Luckily, none of them flew towards us. The zebra who first showed up, looked at Pride, a triumphant look on his face. "Are you here to surrender, pony?" "On the contrary, I'm here to kill all of you. Well, maybe not all of you, some pony to send the message of your demise to the Caesar," Pride said. The zebra laughed. "You ponies are so powerful. What makes you think you can defeat my centurions by yourself?" "I don't think. I know. I am Pride the Arrogant, leader of the 7 sins of equinity," he said. Then he started to laugh. "Why am I explaining this to a backwad, cultured piece of shit like you?" "Kill him," the zebra said, pointing his hoof at Pride. Pride just yawned as the zebras opened fire. The bullets just passed through him like my own had back at Frosty Summit. The holes they made just turned into shadow and reformed a second later. When the gunfire stopped, Pride said, "Are you finished? Or are you just reloading?" Another shot rang out, a bullet flying through Pride's head. The leader looked like he'd been slapped. As he spoke, his voice shook a little. "You are a demon of the stars!" "No. I'm just a unicorn who learned how to control some of the most powerful magic known to pony kind," Pride said. Then shadows erupted from his horn, forming into sharp points. The light around Pride seemed to dim, almost like his presence alone was darkening everything around him. "Don't worry, though. Your attack here will still accomplish something good. You'll serve as an example to that imbecile you call a Khazar, that we will not be trifled with." The leader Zebra screamed at Pride, "No one insults!" He never finished what he was going to say. All the shadows around Pride fell forward, each one stabbing through the helms and heads of the closest zebras. As the first 6 fell, Pride started to move forward, his body erupting into shadows. His presence seemed to grow and surround them like a cloud of death. They started to fire wildly, but it did them no good. One of the zebras closest to town fell, his head flying away from his body, a shower of blood spraying from his neck. Another screamed and tried to run, only to run face first into a spike of shadow that erupted from the ground. 2 more were smashed into a bloody pulp as another shadow slammed down onto them, turning their bodies into jelly. 3 were left now. They were slowly backing away as the darkness around them pulled together, reforming into Pride. What are you?" one of the remaining zebras asked, shaking violently. Pride didn't say a word. He just waved a hoof. Shadow shot out from the hoof, striking the zebra who'd spoken into the air. He started to scream, and then the scream got higher as the shadows surrounded his torso tightened. The scream turned into a gurgle as his innards exploded from his mouth, spraying blood and chunks of meat down onto the last 2 zebras. Then Pride dropped the body in front of them. They looked at him like he was a demon from hell. It made sense since Pride was standing there surrounded by zebra corpses, blood pooling all around him. It was a scarlet reminder of who they were messing with. After a minute, Pride finally spoke. "A message needs somebody to deliver it. But sometimes a message might not be received if only one brings the message. I really need my message to be received properly. So you two get to live. For now. Make sure you tell your Khazar what happened here. And you let him know that if he tries to screw with the Enclave again, I'll make this look like a simple mercy culling." You are a monster," the smaller zebra said as he backed away slowly. Pride laughed. Then a shadow shot out and stabbed him in the eye. The zebra screamed as the sharp pain and tip poked through his cornea, then ripped the eye out, leaving the zebra screaming on the ground next to his companion. He pulled the shadow back to himself, the eyeball still stuck on the end of it. He looked it over for a moment before letting it drop to the ground, where he stepped on the orb slowly. "Do I make myself clear?" The remaining zebra, who was still standing, nodded. Then he moved to help the zebra, who was screaming on the ground. He lifted up, and together they ran before the demonic pony, who started to laugh maniacally. Windthresher and I retreated back into the town, putting as much distance between us as we could. When we finally found what we were looking for, like a safe spot, Windthresher asked, "How do you plan on killing that?" I was stunned by the display of mutilation Pride had just did, but I shook my head and looked at Windthresher. Trying my best to look calm. "I have a plan. I think." "You think?" Windthresher exclaimed in a loud whisper. "How do you plan on killing that? He's not even a pony." "Every pony has a weakness. Even Pride. If I trap him in a small place where he can't escape easily and use multiple flash grenades, it should kill him," I said. "Oh yeah, because he's gonna let you just trap him like that," she said. "I have to do something, Windthresher. I can't let a pony like him stay alive." "I can't believe you're still alive after watching that." Honestly, I couldn't either. Pride hadn't fought like that before. He'd used the spikes like that before, but the other stuff, it was insane. The zebras didn't stand a chance against him, and he was only one of the sins. Envy was right. He wasn't even the strongest one. What could envy do that could top pride's power? I sighed. You're right. But that doesn't change the fact that I have to kill pride. If you don't want to help me, I understand. I don't want you getting hurt, just to help me with this. The anger in her face faded as she sighed.
It's not like that, Shadow. Yes, I'm scared, but I'll stand by your side. I'm not worried about myself, I'm worried about you.
Don't worry about me. I know I can do this. Hell, even if I can't, then it's not like it matters in the end. My life doesn't matter. All I am is a pony who's carrying a pip buck that I don't understand, with stuff on it that's way over my head just to get it back to my mother. I don't care about it anymore. If I don't win, then at least I'll be back with Silver. And Morningstar will be gone too, I said, turning away from my friend.
Shadow, you have ponies who care about you. It's a horrible way to look at life. You matter to Aura and Wingnut. I'm sure your mother still cares about you. Now what about your friends in your stable?
I rounded on her, anger lancing through me. Oh yeah, let's just take a look at the ponies who care about me. Aura, I lied to her about where I was going and betrayed her by leaving. I dragged her around the wasteland, putting her in dangerous situations just so I could finish my quest. Not once taking the time to make sure she was okay or even wanted to help me. Wingnut, I took a colt and put him into situations that a colt should never have to experience. He should have been brought to a place where he could grow and use his mind for something good. Stardust, all I did to help him was have the sins find him. I treated him like a bodyguard and not like a friend. My friends in the stable? What a good friend I was. All I ever cared about was my shitty life and my problems instead of about worrying about their problems. Then I left them behind without a second thought. And my mother, she might care about me. But she sure knew how to show it, didn't she? She's just as bad as I am, if not worse. She put me into a situation where I had to run away from the only life I knew. She also took away the memories I had of my real home, and wanted me to go around the wasteland with a pit buck that she wants, and so does everyone else. She doesn't have the decency to tell me what the fuck I was doing. So, tell me, why am I worth anything? She didn't yell at me. She didn't try to tell me I was wrong. Windthrasher just gave me a smile filled with pity and said,
You also saved your friends in many ways, Shadow. Aura had no one to call a friend before she met you. Wingnut would have died if you didn't meet him, and his life is better by knowing you than not, no matter what you think. Stardust is always on the run from what you told me. By traveling with you, he found a new purpose in life. Your friends in the stable, I'm sure, understand why you were the way you were, but they still loved you. Don't forget about me. If it wasn't for me, I'd still be stuck in Stable 9. Now I'm free, and nothing can be better than that, even if I die today. As for your mom, she had her reasons for doing what she did, and I can't blame her until you know everything. Now stop thinking like a fool, stop feeling sorry for yourself, and start thinking of a way to win. Not what would happen if you died. Fight to win, not to lose. When we buried Silver, I saw your face, Shadow. It was determined. Are you really gonna let it die that fast? I hung my head, ashamed of the dark thoughts that had been running through my head. You're right, Windthrasher. But I'm not sure what else to do. Your plan isn't a bad one, Shadow. But it can't be your only one. Is there anything else you can think of that will work against Pride? Because that thing I saw out there isn't a pony who would just fall for a simple trap. I may know one more thing that would work, but if I did it, I'd risk letting something even worse than Pride out. Morningstar pushed to the front of my mind for a moment. I wouldn't say that I'm worse than Pride, but I am powerful enough to kill him. Windthrasher asked, What do you think would work? Morningstar strained to keep her hold on my mind so she could speak to me. I know the magic he's using, and how to block it. I felt it before, and it might be powerful, but it's not invulnerable. Doing my best to push Morningstar away, I said, Remember that thing that lives inside me I told you about before?
Well, it could be powerful enough to stop him for good. The problem is, if I let her out again, I might not be able to stop her. I pointed at the ring on my horn. Once this comes off, I'm not sure I'll have enough strength to put it back on again.
It could be a risk we'll have to take,
Windthresher said.
If I have to, I'll make sure I don't lose you to whatever that thing is. She's right, Shadow. It's not like I have to take full control over to fight Pride. It could be like when the Griffins attacked. You saw that small amount of power, what it could do. Imagine if you had control over just a little more.
Morningstar said as she faded back into my mind. I'm scared of what would happen if I gave in to the temptation of that power.
Then don't be scared. Use the power to help ponies and don't worry about what they might do. Don't let your power control you, Shadow. You control it. Just like I have to do with my own,
Windthresher said. Well, if luck isn't on my side for once. The voice of the one pony I wasn't ready to run into yet said. Windthresher and I both turned to see Pride standing on their side of the road. He was leaning against a building, watching us. He grinned. I take it you got my message. At the sight of his twisted grin, everything I was afraid of about Pride vanished. I stood my ground and said, Loud and clear, Pride. And I'm here to show you that you aren't immortal.
Shadow, we don't have a plan yet,
Windthresher whispered. Pride just laughed again. How cute. You think you can kill me, do you? Let me guess. You think you can somehow expose me to enough light that's bright enough to kill me? I'm sure you read what I wrote in my journal. I do hope that isn't your plan, because I should tell you that it won't work. You're not the first to try something like that. I found out years ago that no amount of light can kill me. It'll hurt me, make me vanish for a while, but it won't kill me. Those notes I left for you were old. I originally meant for you to find them so you could try your gambit, giving me an excuse to kill you in a fight. Then the higher-ups couldn't do anything about it. Sadly, I don't have time for that now. I knew you'd come here to find me. I've been waiting for you. You're lying. He shrugged. Maybe I am. Why don't you try me? Windthresher put a hoof on my shoulder, saying quickly,
He's not lying, Shadow. I can see it in his eyes. This was a trap. We have to get out of here.
I looked over at Windthresher. No pony was talking to you, freak. Enough of this, I yelled, pulling out my plasma rifle. I'll make you pay for what you did to Silver. Pride erupted into shadows as I fired at him. The wall of shadows flew at me. I tried to dodge, but he was faster. The shadows wrapped around me, lifting me into the air, and throwing me into one of the buildings. Before I even hit the ground, they slammed into me, crushing my body against the wall. Windthresher tried to help, but a shadow peeled away from the larger mass and swatted out at her, swatting her like a bug out of the air. She slammed into another wall, a tiny scream coming from her muzzle. She fell to the ground and didn't get back up. I was doing my best to breathe as the shadow crushed me against the wall. A light chuckle came from the middle of the creature, Pride's voice coming out of. Finally, Courier. It's just you and me. No more friends to come in and save the day. Whatever will you do now? Using what was left of my strength, I pulled a flash grenade out of my saddlebags and wheezed out, This! I pulled the pin and dropped the flash bomb. A yell came from the shadow, and Pride released me, fleeing for the other side of the road. It went off, and he screamed as more of his shadows blew off like dust. But unlike before, he didn't vanish. I have to get closer and use more flash bombs to kill him. When I hit the ground, I took a few deep breaths, then looked over at where the shadowy form hovered. I'm not going down that easily, Pride. You're going to die today. He reformed back into a pony. Nothing can kill me, Courier. Trust me, you're not the first pony to try this trick. I've had ponies trying to kill me for 40 years. From the jealous who hated me for my natural talent with magic, to the ponies of the Enclave who wanted me dead because of who I am. So tell me, courier, how do you think you can possibly kill me? A mare whose magical power is mediocre at best.
Use my power, Shadow. My power can kill him,
Morningstar said, her presence pushing past the protection spell again.
It's the only way. Those flash bombs won't work. He's using black magic. You need light magic to take him down.
Is that the kind of magic you have? I thought back at her.
Sort of. But it will work. Trust me.
I'll never trust you, Morningstar. I'll let you take a hold again. You'll never let go. Pride started to walk towards me slowly, shadows rolling off of him in waves. No answer. Morningstar was starting to fade, but she pushed hard to keep contact.
I'll make a deal with you. I'll give you access to my power without taking control of your mind. I'll help you control the power itself, but you'll be the one using it, and controlling what to cast.
How can I trust that you won't take over?
Because I never lie. If I make a deal, I keep it. You and I have our problems, but I still need you alive. Don't let us die because you're too stubborn to let me help. Please, Shadow, think about Silver. Are you really going to let Pride kill you like he did those zebras? Is that what her memory deserves?
I looked up at Pride. Fine. Let's do this. Pride smiled, thinking I was talking to him. I'll admit, you're a brave pony. Before you die, just know that you have my utmost respect. As he spoke, Morningstar said,
Pull off the ring and cut yourself. Once you do, I can give the power you'll need. You'll be able to free me with your mind, helping the flow of power. But you have to cast the spells and control where they land. That's all I can do without taking over.
Pride shot towards me. In the split second it took for him to attack, I reached up and pulled the talisman off my horn, throwing it away. I jumped out of the way, but let one of his shadows scrape by, leaving a shallow cut in my foreleg. I ran over to Wind Thrasher and lifted her in the air as I ran away from Pride. Running won't save you, courier! Pride yelled as he followed. I could feel the power flowing into me as I ran towards the center of town, pushing past townsponys and traders. When I reached the center of the town, I set Wind Thrasher down and turned to face Pride. I picked up the plasma rifle again and pointed it at him. He smiled as he reformed his spears of shadows. I thought we've done this already. I smiled as I felt the last of the power from Morningstar flow into me, and light formed around the cut in my foreleg. You don't know what I'm capable of, Pride. Now you forced my hoof. I'll show you my true power. He started to laugh. True power? Oh, please, that's cute. Goodbye, courier. He moved to attack, but he was too late. The light exploded out of me, forcing him to jump away with a hiss. The explosion of magic that came was almost too much for me to handle, let alone understand. My body changed like it did when I fought the griffins, one without the pain that accompanied it. My coat changed to a silvery white, and my mane turned black as the night sky. It was over in a matter of seconds. I could feel Morningstar as she said, but she wasn't trying to take control of me like she had for the first time. She was only there to help me understand the magic I now held, and to guide it as I used it. When I spoke, my voice was my own, thank the goddesses. It's time for you to die, Pride. I was about to attack when I saw the look on Pride's face. He looked scared. He could feel the power. Or was it something else? He took a step back and said in a quivering voice, No. That's not possible. I looked at him, confused. Why do you have her face? She died. You can't have her face! He was rambling. Pride was rambling? Whose face did I have? Did he know who Morningstar was? Then the shadows around him exploded as she screamed. How dare you! Pure anger rolled off the golden pony as he attacked. The town's ponies around us screamed as dark magic rolled across the center of town. 2 ponies dying from just the touch of his shadows. The darkness rolled toward me like a wave. Oddly, I didn't feel fear like I normally would from such a powerful spell. No, my mind was clear. I pulled on the vast amount of energy I could feel flowing through me from Morningstar, and I cast the first spell that came to mind. A wave of bright light exploded from my horn, blasting right at the dark wall of shadow. It parted at the touch of the spell, blowing right at the dark from the middle. I saw a quick glow of purple eyes, then a dark shape vanished. The flood of darkness flowed down and extinguished the light of my spell. I flipped around, keeping my head on a swivel, looking for any sign of the bastard. A lance of shadow flew out from one of the alleys. I jumped to one side, but not before it left a shallow gash along my cheek. Another second later, and it would have gone through my eye. I shot another blast of light down the alley, but nothing was there. Fuck, I yelled as I twisted around again. But not before the spear punched through my armor and into my back, out from the other side. Morningstar and I both screamed in pain as something seemed to explode inside my body. A moment later, I was lifted off the ground and thrown towards the far side of the town center, my body crashing into a building. If it wasn't for the reinforced armor, it would have broken more than the brick my body landed against. I looked down at myself and saw blood flowing from my stomach. I winced, then did my best to get back on my hooves, looking up at the rolling shadows that seemed to be filling the town square, purple eyes at the center of the mass. A wide grin of pure pleasure and terror just under those violet orbs. As I looked into those eyes, I forgot the pain, and the only thing that mattered was the monster I had to face. The monster who had killed the mare I loved. The evil bastard that made my life hell. I spat blood on the cobblestone and grinned. Is that all you got, Pride? He didn't say a word. He only attacked. Blades of shadow flew at me, quick as a bullet. My horn flashed and teleported away, reappearing on the other side of the square. I cast another spell. This one not just a burst of light, but a blinding spell to try and hold down the massive shadows. The shadows blew that spell apart as more lances of darkness tried to pin me down. I jumped out of the way of 2 and was nearly cut in 2 by another one that came from a nearby alley. I blew that one apart with another burst of light. Keeping the light going, I ran towards the center of the massive shadow. I'm not letting you kill me that easily, Pride. And I'm not letting you leave this town alive, courier! Pride's voice echoed from the center of the shadow. Dozens of blades blew out towards me, but I was ready for it. I ducked under them by sliding along the ground, my magic taking 2 flash bombs from my saddlebags and throwing them into the center of the mass. I closed my eyes as they went off. Pride screamed, bringing a small smile to my lips. Opening my eyes again, I got to my hooves, ready for another attack. The mass of shadows was gone, but Pride wasn't. He was standing only a few inches away from me, his horn glowing. He looked a little shocked, but the expression vanished in a second. Nice trick. But it won't work this time. I jumped back, but another shadow came out of nowhere and stabbed through my hind leg. Another going right through my right foreleg, pinning me to the ground. I tried to scream and attack again, but Pride moved closer and pressed his shadows, covering my horn. When the tip of his horn met mine, it was like some pony started pouring hot lead into my horn. The pain started at where the connection was made, then ran down my horn into my head, throughout my entire body. The pain was so intense I couldn't even scream. Morningstar was doing her best to fight whatever spell he was using. I could feel her flowing, some kind of power through my body to meet the magic that was pouring into me. Shadow, you need to pull free before he stops my spell, he said as he struggled to hold the magic back. If you don't, this will kill us. I didn't ask questions. Ignoring the pain flowing through me and the pain of the blades in my legs, I finally got a scream past my lips and pulled one leg free of the shadows. My foreleg came up and slapped into Pride's horn. Instead of passing through it like I figured it would, my hoof connected with a solid object. Pride's eyes went wide and he screamed. In the same instant, that pain from his spell vanished. Without anything to fight against, Morningstar's spell burst forward like a flood on its own and shot into Pride. As our horns parted, the spell hit him. There was a spark of light and a few flashes of images flashed into my vision. A colt showing off a new spell to some older unicorns, proud of what he was doing, able to accomplish at such a young age. Another of a mature colt, casting a spell that was thought to be impossible for one pony alone to use. And the last was the same colt, now a stallion, mistaking a new spell he was testing out, and hurting a young foal, stopping the foal's heart. It only took a second, but the feeling of that pony filled me like it was my own experiences. "What was that?" Morningstar asked, as she stopped her own attack. She seemed just as shocked as I was. Pride pulled away, a look of pure shock on his face. "Who are you?" he asked in wonder. "I'm just a mare that wants you dead, Pride." Or... wait. Auricalus? "That's not my name. That pony died years ago," he said, backing away a little. "Tell me what you are." "I told you already," I said, readying another spell. "I wasn't talking to you, courier!" he exclaimed. His body exploded into shadows again, shooting towards me. "I was talking to the thing inside of you!" "He can feel me," Morningstar said, as we dodged the attack and fired another burst of light at him. "How can he feel me? Unless... no. He can't know what I am. Unless the power he's using is... is what?" I asked, avoiding the next attack. "Shadow, let him hit you with the next attack. I know a way we can stop him." "You really are insane," I yelled as I teleported out of the way of another attack from the shadowy form. "Damn it, Shadow. Just do it! I'll have a spell ready for you." "Fine," I said. I stopped and stood my ground as the cloud of shadows flew up into the air. It rolled around for a moment and shot at me with all its force. It slammed into me with the force of a dragon. I felt my hooves leave the ground as I was lifted high into the air, the shadows around me tightening, trying to crush me. I could feel Morningstar readying the spell for me. As she did, a voice echoed in my ear. "Die!" "Now, Shadow!" I cast whatever spell she had prepared. I felt warmth flowing throughout every inch of my body when it erupted. Spears of light flew out from all points around me, pushing past the crushing shadow. 4 points of the spell reached the outside of the shadow around us. Then it blasted around everything, enclosing Pride within a spear of magical light. Everything went white. When I could see again, I found myself on the ground, blinking up at the cloudy sky. I turned my head, a throbbing pain just behind my eyes. I saw Pride lying there, his gaze locked with mine. I pulled a healing potion out of my saddlebags and drank it as quickly as I could. The bleeding in my forelegs, stomach, and back slowly slighted. I got back to my hooves and read another spell as I limped towards Pride. His eyes followed me as I approached. "I understand now. And here I thought it was a myth," he said weakly. "What are you rambling about now, Pride?" I said as I drew closer, keeping my guard up. He chuckled. "You should have killed me with that spell, Aquila. Because now I know who and what you are. Now you've missed your opportunity." Seemingly of its own accord, the spell I was readying and my horn vanished. Morningstar seemed to be struck dumb by his simple words. Without her guidance, I couldn't use the spell on my own. I took a step back as Pride got to his hooves, his self-satisfied smirk on his smug face. He took a step closer to me. "Courier, do you know what lies beneath your tainted hide?" "Don't listen to a Shadow. He's trying to get into your head," Morningstar said. I ignored her. "What are you talking about?" He started to laugh. "Goddesses above. You don't know what you are, do you? How did a pony like you end up in a stable? It's quite fascinating. I always want to take you with me so I can study the creature that lives inside of you. That is, if I could let something like it live. But sadly, I can't." As he spoke, thick shadows started to pour out of his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. "Kill him now, Shadow!" Morningstar yelled. But something kept me from moving. I could feel the spell I needed to use, a spell that would destroy every part of his magic, but I couldn't draw on it. Pride's gaze had me held in some sort of trance. He chuckled louder. "Aquila, don't even try and do anything. You chose the wrong vessel. You had your chance to take me out. Now it's too late. I've won. I'm going to destroy you and cleanse Equestria of your kind." You should feel honored, though, because no pony's ever gotten to see me use the power to its full potential.
What do you mean?
I was able to squeak out as more shadows poured from him.
Shadow, we need to run! Now! Morningstar yelled,
but her voice was nothing more than a buzz of a gnat. I want you to pay close attention, courier, because I want you to understand before you die what you got yourself into. You see, the reason no pony can kill me is simple. I don't have a real body anymore. I had to use it as payment to obtain this power I now have. What you see now is nothing more than a shell. A container, if you will. It holds back my full power. It also makes it a lot easier to keep my mind intact, because magic always comes with a price. The more power you obtain, the more you pay. Be it mind, body, or soul. Bear witness to my perfection, and die. The next moment, something went black as shadows that had been pouring out of him exploded from his skin like it was nothing more than paper. I felt that I could move my body again, and I ran. The darkness vanished when I got inside of the town square. I looked behind me and witnessed a nightmare unfold. The darkness that had burst forth from pride pulled back in and pulled together to form something that wasn't even a pony. The creature was made entirely of black and purple shadows. It was so tall that its chest was level with the tallest building in town, its head towering over the rest. It was shaped like a unicorn, but with a violet shadow for a horn. Deep purple eyes with red pupils. It had its mouth open, long fangs that dripped darkness. It fixed its gaze on me and roared, causing the cobbles under my hooves to crack, the buildings to shudder. On his flanks, in place of a cutie mark, was a burning red tribal lion. The monster stopped its roar, then laughed and spoke. Witness the power of King Sombra's magic. The power he was too weak to use himself, too frightened to unleash. I am perfection. I am pride! I saw other ponies looking up at the horror that was impossible to miss. I wanted to scream at them to run away, before they fell victim to whatever pride had just become. But the look on their faces told me that they couldn't move out of pure terror, even if I could say something. I doubt my voice would make it past their fear. Pride fixed his gaze on me again. Now to put an end to this thing first. Then you, courier. I could feel Morningstar trying to take over just a little to cast the teleportation spell, but she couldn't. Something was keeping her from escaping.
Cast the spell, Shadow. Please!
A flash of black light flew from the monster's horn and slammed into me. When it hit, it felt like I was being ripped in half. My vision went white, and Morningstar screamed.
No! Not that curse! Not again! I can't do it again!
Every part of Morningstar ripped away from my mind. Her magic was shattered, and her scream was all that was left, to echo inside my head. I felt my heart flutter, almost like it wanted to stop beating or explode, but as soon as Morningstar faded away, so did the pain in my chest. As the spell faded, one last thing from Morningstar made its way into me. I won't lose. My vision went back to normal, and I was still standing in the same spot as before. I looked down at myself and saw that I was my normal black. That moment was all I had, because the next I was being lifted up into a dark shadow. I had no more energy. With Morningstar's abrupt departure, I was completely drained. My body was pulled close to the monster Pride had now become. I stopped an inch away from his muzzle. He chuckled as he used his magic to strip my saddlebags away, tossing it aside and outside the city. Do you feel helpless now, courier? He slammed my body to the ground. I couldn't even feel one of my ribs breaking, but I could hear it. He lifted me back up and slammed me against a building, cracking the brick. My breath blew out of my lungs as he slammed me against another building, then another, and another. Even with the lack of pain, I knew I was in trouble. There was no way my body could take this much abuse. He brought me up one last time in front of his gaze. I asked you a question, courier. I just smiled. My name is Shadowstar. I was having trouble breathing, but I pushed on. If you want to taunt me, then call me by my fucking name. Very callous. He just let his grin slide a little. Have it your way. Those are some pathetic last words. How disappointing. Goodbye. A spear of shadow blew from my back and out my belly. Then he threw me in the same direction as my saddlebags. It wasn't as scary as it was peaceful. I just closed my eyes and let the wind flow past my mane. I did what I could for Silver. Now I'd join her in a world far away from the pain of this world, this wasteland. That was until I felt some pony grab me mid-air. My eyes snapped open and I saw Wind Thrasher. She swooped in and caught me before I hit the ground.
Don't worry. Shadow, I've got you,
she said, setting me down as gently as she could.
Too bad you couldn't catch me before you smacked me around a few times,
I said, wincing as feelings started to return to my body.
No. This is too much for a healing potion to handle,
she said, looking over my wounds.
I'm not sure to even start.
It doesn't matter, Wind Thrasher. I did what I could, and I lost. Just let me die so I can be done with all of this, I said weakly, coughing up blood.
I can't do that, Shadow.
You have to.
If you stay here, Pride will kill you too.
As I spoke, I saw movement from the corner of my eye. Turning my head, I saw Pride's head looming over the buildings of Appleton. Ponies were running away from the town, trying to push their way past the gate, trampling the other ponies who weren't fast enough to make it through. Then he spoke. Not dead yet, courier? Don't worry. I'll remedy that right now. And your friend can join you in death's beautiful embrace. His shadowy horn started to glow. A small amount of strength poured into me when he said that. He could attack me, break me, kill me, but I'll never let him hurt another one of my friends. I don't know why I did it. It was stupid, but something inside of me told me to glance up. My saddlebag was just a few inches away from me, the one thing that had been thrown out of the ground when it hit. That stupid toy gun I told the zebra colt I'd keep safe. Using what I had left of my magic, surprised I hadn't left it all, I pulled it close and lifted it up. The screen was glowing green, and in one corner it had the number 1. No matter what this thing was or what it did, it still didn't matter. Nothing could hurt or kill Pride. But at least I'd get one last fuck you before he killed us. I smiled and pointed the ridiculous gun towards Pride. He was too far away for anything to reach him. But fuck him. I brought the sights on top of the gun up and targeted his head. Say cheese.
Smile like a jackass, Pride,
I said and pulled the trigger. The screen on the back of the gun lit up. A triangle with numbers on each point appeared. As it did, a small beam shot out of the weapon. It streaked across the distance between Pride and myself. The small beam hit him square in the forehead, leaving a small symbol where it hit. Pride started to laugh, his oversized body seeming to grow even more. What is that, huh? I've told you, courier. You can't do anything to me. His voice boomed. A message appeared on the screen. Target acquired. Rangefinder connecting to Halo 1 power. Error. Cloud layer blocking shot. Preparing to remove cloud layer. Protective barrier being activated. Solar flare preparing to fire. Please stand back. My heart stopped. This wasn't just a stupid-looking gun or a last defiance towards Pride. Solar flare's rangefinder. It couldn't be what I thought it was, could it? How would something like this end up in the hooves of a zebra colt? I looked towards Pride, who was still laughing, the glowing symbol still stuck on his head. If I could move, I would have gotten to my hooves and ran towards Pride, to try and get him away from the town. But even if I could, it was too late. 4 pillars of yellow light blasted through the cloud layer on 4 sides of Pride, each one landing just inside the town square. Pride looked confused as each one hit. A constant beam of light making a large circle. The beams flashed, then expanded, thinning out until each one melted away, making a translucent barrier. I reached a hoof out and pulled my saddlebags closer, digging frantically for a healing potion.
Shadow? What is that?
Wind Thrasher asked as she looked at the yellow sphere of dim light. We have to stop it. I didn't know what that weapon did, I shouted. I finally found the healing potion and downed it. I was too hurt for it to do much for me, but it washed away a little of the pain and slowed my bleeding. I wobbled as I got to my hooves, and ran. I dodged around ponies who were running from town, either from pride or from what I just brought down from the heavens. As I ran, I tried to figure out if there was a way to stop the weapon from firing. Wind Thrasher flew while I ran back to town, ignoring the throbbing pain rolling through my body. But we both came to a skidding stop as we made it to the barrier. The ponies, who'd been too scared to even move when Pride turned to whatever he was, were now screaming and beating their hooves onto it. They were trapped. At least 100 mares, stallions, and foals, all crying and screaming. Pride was looking around at the barrier. Then his eyes fell on me. "What did you do?" I was still trying to figure out how to stop the blast when I heard something worse. Looking up past Pride, the clouds were vanishing. The sound I heard was half of a cloud building falling over as the clouds supporting it disappeared. Pegasi were trying to escape the barrier as well. I could see some of them slamming their bodies against it with all they had. They weren't soldiers, I realized as I watched. If I hadn't been so horrified at what I was witnessing, I would have marveled at the blue sky above me. But I couldn't. All I could do was look at the ponies that were trapped on the other side. Maybe the weapon wouldn't work. I mean, the weapon had been shut down for 200 years. It was possible that nothing would happen, apart from this thing in front of me. "What the fuck did you do, courier?" Pride yelled. He slammed his body against the barrier. It flashed gold and sheared a chunk of shadow off Pride's body. He backed up, a look of horror in his purple eyes. "Stop this! Whatever you did, turn it off!" The other pony started to yell the same thing, asking me to stop or to let them go. I just took a step back and looked into their terrified eyes. I don't know how. The rangefinder beeped. I looked down at it. The screen flashed a quick message. "Satellite in place. Solar flare firing." I saw something flash in the sky above. Wind Thrasher took hold of me, trying to pull me away.
"Shadow, we have to win."
I didn't fight back. I just stayed limp as I was lifted into the air and pulled away. My eyes locked onto Pride's. He looked scared. He knew that whatever this was, I couldn't stop it. At the last moment, he closed them and grinned. "Checkmate. Shadow. You win." There was a flash of bright light coming down the beam, first striking down the center of Pride's shadowy form. His body exploded where it hit. Pride screamed as the beam of light spread, and so did the ponies on the ground. I watched as their bodies burst into flames the closer the beam got to them. Each one of them started to roll around, writhing in pain. But it only lasted a second. The intense light grew brighter when the beam hit the barrier. When it did, all sound seemed to vanish. Time felt like it stopped, and my sight was locked on the one horrible sight. The blast probably only lasted about 10 seconds, but it felt like an eternity. Then, as quickly as it all started, everything came rushing back to me at once. Sound returned, time quickened, and screams filled the air along with a loud crack, like breaking glass. The barrier cracked and shattered. A howling blast of hot air blew out as it disappeared, crashing into Wind Thrasher and me, throwing us to the ground. I looked back up once my body stopped rolling across the hard ground, and all I saw was smoke, ash, and buildings reduced to black fires and smoldering brick and wood. What I didn't see was Pride. He'd vanished in the flash of light from the solar flare. And so did half the town. What had been trapped in the barrier was just gone. When the barrier went down, the concussion from the remainder of the blast took out more of the buildings, leaving them in ruin. With one pull of a trigger, I'd killed Pride, over 100 ponies, and destroyed a town. I couldn't even move. All I could do was look at the devastation left behind by that one weapon. I felt some ponies shaking me. Looking back, I saw a blood-splattered Wind Thrasher.
"What did you do, Shadow?"
I don't know. I had no idea what that was. I was shuddering. I was in shock. She looked over me, her eyes falling to my torso. Following her gaze, I saw what she looked at. A twisted piece of metal was jutting out of my belly. I couldn't even feel it. I just looked back up into her yellow eyes. What did I do?
"Stop talking. You need to conserve your strength,"
Wind Thrasher said, rolling me over and looking over my wounds. I started to cry. I didn't mean to hurt so many ponies. I just wanted to stop Pride. What have I done? My vision was starting to go black around the edges as Wind Thresher put a hoof to my muzzle.
You need to stop. You can't change what happened. Right now, we need to get you to a doctor.
I didn't need a doctor. I needed to go back 3 minutes and stop myself from pulling that trigger and committing genocide. Pride deserved what he got, but the rest of the ponies that lived there didn't. I let my anger get the best of me, my own wrath clouding my judgment. I laid my head back and looked towards Appleton. I saw a small charred corpse just on the edge of town. The foal's body must have been thrown by the blast. Now it was just on the other side of the gate, almost free of the destroyed town. I heard flapping above us. I guessed it was the Enclave coming to find out what had happened, or to take me in for killing so many of their ponies and punching another hole in the clouds. Turning my head back towards the sky, I saw it wasn't them. Griffins from the Red Talon were flying towards the town. One broke off from the rest and headed towards us, a small blue figure on her back. She landed a few feet away, looking down at my pathetic body lying there helplessly. I couldn't help myself from bursting to tears as Aura slowly walked towards us. As I expected, she looked pissed, and so did Wingnut, who was still on her back. She moved right up to Wind Thrasher and me and looked over us both.
Well, don't you two look like hell?
She said, sounding as pissed as she looked.
Tell me what the fuck you did.
Wind Thrasher got out of her hooves.
You don't understand, Aura. She had no choice. Shut up, Batty. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the pony who lied to me about leaving and destroyed a town full of innocent ponies. Now answer me, Shadow. What the fuck did you do?
I don't know, I said weakly. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to stop Pride. It was all his fault. He killed her, drew me in so he could kill me. They made me do this. Aura's face didn't change in the least, but she did sigh.
We aren't done talking about this. You have a lot to answer for, Shadow. But right now, it looks like we have to fix you.
Go away, Aura. You don't work for me anymore. You'll just end up getting killed like Silver did, and those town ponies. You should all just go away. I'm nothing but a curse. Wingnut jumped off of Aura and walked towards me.
Shadow, I came here to find you. We care about you.
Go away and just let me die! I screamed at them, ignoring the pain in my gut.
Sorry, Shadow. But as you just said, I don't work for you anymore. So I don't have to take your orders,
Aura said, looking back at Wingnut.
So, boss, what do you want me to do with her? She's not in her right mind. Let's get her out of here before she hurts herself more,
Wingnut said.
Sure thing, boss,
Aura said, looking back at me.
Time to go now, Shadow.
No. You work for Wingnut now? No. Don't do this. Please, just let me. Aura punched me as hard as she could in the side of my head.
Quick, let's get out of here before the Enclave or the NLR figure out what happened here. Wind Thrasher, grab Shadow's things and follow me. I'll explain what's going on when we fly back,
Aura said as my vision slowly faded, and everything went black. Footnote. Level up. Error. Perk not found. Loading. Please wait.